Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday evening's Premier League match between Arsenal and Everton. Barnes will start with the home side, massive win in midweek against Bayern, but let's go to their last league game, 3-0 over Watford.
Yeah, good result, a solid victory for them. 3 goals against the Watford defence, which have been very solid up to that point so far this season. So, all good signs for Arsene Wenger there. I think, to be honest, the 3-0 flattered them a little bit because it was a fairly even contest. Watford only really looked like scoring when Carlo went through and then fluffed his lines with a really good chance. Arsenal never looked in danger of losing the match, and you always expected them to go on and win, but I think 3-0 was a bit harsh on Watford in that sense. But another goal for Sanchez, another goal for Giroud coming off the bench, and Ramsey getting the goal as well, the third one to cap it off. So a good victory, 2 points, stayed 2 points behind Manchester City, and all the signs at the moment are pointing that they might be able to build a title challenge because they look like a more balanced outfit at the moment. Those matches against Watford that were tight, perhaps in years gone by they might have struggled to get those 3 goals, but to win so convincingly, win so clearly, all good signs for Arsenal at the moment.
Certainly, and then they host Bayern in the Champions League midweek, losing their first 2 games of the group. It was, these 2 games against Bayern now, one of them was, they had to win one really to stand any chance of getting through, and they did last night, 2-0 win. Wenger kept exactly the same 11 that started against Watford, and it was a good performance from Arsenal. Certainly Bayern had their chances, Petr Cech made some key saves, but then so did Manuel Neuer. That save from Walcott in the first half, an absolutely incredible save, and almost kept out Ozil's second goal. And it was Giroud who, like I said, he's been in good form recently. He got the opening goal. Certainly suspicion of handball and the way it came in. Neuer missed the ball, and I think Giroud knew too much about it, but his hands were in front of his body, and certainly the ball wouldn't have gone in if it hadn't touched his hand. So Bayern could feel a bit aggrieved with that, but you look at the stats, relating to Bayern, going into that game, they'd won 12 in a row in all competitions. They hadn't failed to score in the Champions League group stage in 4 years. So for Arsenal to inflict a defeat, keep them out as well, especially, Lewandowski, however many, it's 12 goals in 5 games he scored. He's been in incredible form. Thomas Muller always seems to score against English teams. To keep both of those out and keep a clean sheet, beat Bayern Munich and really kick-start their Champions League hopes again. So it's such a massive night for the club. Huge win, and certainly the way they're going in the league, like I say, get back on form in the Champions League. Things are looking good for them at the moment.
They are capable now and again of those big results, aren't they? I think consistency is the key thing for them. If they can beat Bayern next week as well, then perhaps we start thinking of them as serious Champions League contenders as well as Premier League contenders. But Wenger, he's got his side playing well, all the key players playing well again. Sanchez is starting to hit form, and he's got a very nice problem up front. We were talking earlier in the season about, did they have a striker capable of going and winning them the league with Walcott and Giroud to choose from? But both of them are in really good form at the moment. Giroud's had to make do with a place on the bench at the moment, but he's got 5 in 6 games now. He's come off the bench and done really well. I'd love to see his stats on how many of them are one-time finishes in the box. He seems to be a master at that. He seems to do it almost every time he comes off the bench. So he's got 2 strikers banging form, and while I still have my reservations over whether they're good enough to really lead the line in the title-winning side or a side that's going to go quite far in Europe, you can't argue with that form at the moment. And as long as they're keeping scoring goals, Arsenal will be able to win any game.
No, certainly. So they were 3-0 winners against Watford last time, but Everton, they were on the other end of the scoreline against Manchester United on what was a really sad day at Goodison. Their greatest ever manager, the most successful period of the club's history, Howard Kendall, he was in charge. He passed away, and I thought certainly going into that match, I thought that the news of that and obviously a real sombre mood around the club might have really, it's obviously the fans were really up for the game, might have G'd on the players as well, the minutes applause, but it just didn't turn out the way at all. It went the other way. They were sort of, maybe their mind wasn't quite fully on the game because of all the, there was so much, it was a massive piece of news to come through that morning, so maybe, it took their mind off it a bit, but they never really got going against United. They had a spell at the start of the second half where they had about 20 minutes where they looked quite bright and nearly got a couple of goals there, but they lost the game in the first half, really conceding those 2 goals to Schneiderlin and Herrera. And watching it back, United, they went there with a really good game plan. They sat back, they let Everton have the ball in Everton's half of the pitch, and they just wait for Everton. They said to Everton, look, unlock us if you can. They couldn't do so, and then United, with the players they had, just hit them on the counter, took their chances when they came. Rooney getting his first goal in away goal in 11 months, I think it was. So it was a good moment for him. But as for Everton, it wasn't the best result, but certainly where they're sitting in the table, considering the fixture they've had, 9th, it's still been a pretty good start.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously another really tough one for them, but as you mentioned, they've had a horrid start to the season, and to be 9th in there after what happened last season as well, fans will be fairly happy with that after what happened in the transfer window as well, where they didn't really bring in too many players. Things are only going to get easier from now on. They've got Sunderland at home next up, Aston Villa at home, and then Bournemouth away. You'd expect maximum points. At less than 3 of their next 4 games, you'd expect maximum points from those 3 games for Everton. So it does get easier for them, and they'll also should have key players coming back. Baines close to the return, Mohamed Bezic, Cleverley, Stones and Coleman returned against Manchester United as well. So they've got players coming back, they've got kind of fixtures coming, so they'll be confident of pushing up towards those European places after what has been a tough but a satisfactory start to the season, I'd say.
So this is probably, say, Everton's the last game of their really tough run of fixtures they've had. Do you think they can end that with a win?
I think Arsenal are in too good form at the moment. Especially at home, I can see them beating almost anyone, as they showed against Bayern Munich, so I think I can go for a 2-0 Arsenal victory.
I think Everton might push it a bit closer than that, but certainly I agree that Arsenal will start the match as favourites. It's hard to see them not winning this. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win. So both picking the Gunners to win this one. Thanks for joining us.